Hello, Central Valley principals and leaders. I wanted to give a couple of quick updates of what we've been doing with culturally responsive teaching and some highlights from some of the professional development sessions that Tiffany and I have been doing over this past week. You might see right there in the corner, Mr. Jones, new principal at Langston Hughes Academy, doing a little rap. If you want to see that in action, you want to hear the audio, stay on till the end. So as I said, Tiffany and I have been going around to different sites and offering professional development in this vein. If you're interested, please let either of us know, and we can come out to your site and work alongside you, either in facilitating, co-facilitating, or helping you plan through this scope and sequence that we have. As we've been sharing, we're going slow to go fast. Collectivism throughout the whole year, oral tradition throughout the whole year, and then we have the different gears that we're working through. So one of the things that we've done is work with call and response and doing some activities, engaging staff in that process, whether it's with our after school educators, as you see right here, or with our teachers. And so just practicing through those, getting our comfortability up, and then having conversations as well about, what are the different ways that we can use choral responses and call and response in different settings. These are some of our teachers. There's a Benville Middle.
From the window
to the wall.
Go.
Sharpie. Roller. Coaster.
And so we had this discussion about how we can use call and response in different ways. There's a video here from Teach Like a Champion. It's a Technique 23 in Teach Like a Champion that goes over the 5 levels of call and response. Because yes, it's an attention getter, but it's also an opportunity to do other work, right? To reinforce what we've been teaching, to report, to repeat, review, and solve. And a teacher at Vanguard had shared this morning as a way to praise students too. So call and response has many values for our multilingual learners that are getting comfortable with acquisition of English language, students with special needs, other students that might just be shy and wouldn't feel comfortable to answer in an individual setting. But if you put them in that choral response, then it starts to get that confidence built up to speak out loud. And then we've looked at culture, right? Like, what does culture mean? And we looked at several definitions of what culture is. And we piece this apart with staff and come up with patterns that we notice. And then we look at it through that lens of the surface, shallow, and deep culture. And then we engage staffs in these opportunities to look through different elements of culture and then determine where does this fall on surface or deep, and how does that connect to how we work with our students. So very engaging PDs have been going through. If these are some things that might be of interest to you as well, and you want to do something like this at your site, I can also share the deck with you. And then as we moved into culture, looking at collectivism and individualism, these cultural archetypes and how they play out in a class setting. These were those features of those. You may have noticed those from the first day back, that afternoon session of the kickoff when we came back. And then we revisited this scenario and looked at, okay, now we see a situation happening in class. How might we be able to tap into some of those collectivist features, call and response, choral response, aspects of deep culture to create the most inclusive and positive environment. So that's some of the work that Tiffany and I have been doing together. And then also, I've done this a couple of times with some culturally responsive social emotional learning. And we looked at, those 5 core competencies of SEL through the lens of cultural responsiveness. Because we do know, as a lot of the research has shown in peer-reviewed articles, but just in our own experiences, that sometimes there's a disconnect and a cultural mismatch at times when we're presenting SEL with our students. And so how do we engage our students in social emotional learning? Can it actually be SEL if it isn't culturally responsive? And if there is culturally responsive SEL, what could that possibly look like? And so we used some music and song. And we use this in this, we rooted it and anchored it in the culture of hip hop. As Aya de Leon from San Francisco State lets us know, hip hop is the dominant language of youth culture, right? And this is so hip hop is a culture. Dr. Bettina Love, who was our keynote, shares that as well in her TED Talk on this aspect.
And this connection that I had with my students was not just the music of hip hop, it was the culture of hip hop. And I saw my students do amazing and incredible things in the classroom, strictly bringing their culture into the classroom. And to many people, the outside person will look at my classroom and say, there's no learning going on there. It is loud. It is not academic. And I saw it as organized noise. I saw it as kids using everything that they had to learn.
So Dr. Bettina Love sharing, that the culture of hip hop and the beats and the rhythms, and I could share this TED Talk as well. I think it's called Hip Hop Grit and Academic Success. So that is a methodology to engage our students. Dr. Emden talks about the hip hop being the lifeblood of young folks who are least likely to be successful in STEM careers, and the recognition of the power and the impact of hip hop, and to capitalize on that. And so he had performed this and engaged in this literacy lesson with Loaded Lux at Columbia University with a high school group, using hip hop as a way to teach literacy. So I morphed that, iterated through that, and used that same similar type of activity as a way to engage in the social emotional learning competencies. Listen to what Dr. Emden has to say about hip hop.
And to do a rap and do it well, you have to combine all those things.
Hip hop has always been a part of my existence. There's something about beats and rhythms and rhymes that just speaks to my soul. And hip hop is this phenomenon that just found a way to sort of capture the complexities of the experiences of not just urban America, but all young people who feel like they don't fit and they don't belong. Somehow hip hop speaks to them. And so for an educator who always wants to work with connecting with young people, and particularly wants to connect with young folks who are most marginalized from success in teaching and learning, hip hop has been
Think about this, and hip hop's been his greatest co-teacher. And so hip hop being an opportunity to help students to understand their own identities, the social learning, the emotional connection with self, and to really piece through that. And so we went through this process. And here's I want to share a little bit of highlights. You're really going to appreciate this from our after school directors and educators. Some of the rhymes that came up with.
He a really close friend of me. I ain't talking about old boy. He ain't sympathy. He ain't nice yet. He an enemy. Now my boy sympathy. Tell me when he loses on. Let me get it right when everything's going wrong. Let me get it smile. It's all what I know. It's a part of my blessing. Yeah, it's good for the soul.
So these teams chose a core competency.
I had a bad day and I'm feeling a little crummy, man. What to do? I want to go home. I am trying to talk to others, man. I feel so alone. I stepped into the room and who did I see? Miss Applebottom. And that's how was your day? And all of a sudden my anxiety melted away. Now I'm all smiles. How can that be? Because someone finally recognized me. I told her about my day and she stood there and listened. Gave me advice, a hug, and now I'm on with my mission. Hashtag FCL.
It was so beautiful as we did our debrief and just discussed about the level of empathy that this built and sense of community with those that co-constructed the rhymes together, the affinity that it built. It was such a beautiful thing. So many other positive unintended consequences through this activity. And so we had the opportunity to visit LHA at Wine and Roses yesterday and go through this process with their staff as well. And here's some of those. I was able to capture a few of those. I think I'm going to jump in.
I am black, I am brown, I am white, I am tan. All my ancestors come from many different lands. My future is bright, no keeping me down. My soul brings value, my ambitions abound. I'm female, I'm male, I'm gay, straight or bi. I'm living my truth, no need to lie. I am who I am until the day that I die. I am the future of tomorrow.
I'm the youth of today. Teach me, love me, do not let me stray. I do not like uniforms, I will not conform. I love to wear hoodies and jeans that are torn. Know your worth and then add tax. I believe in me, that's facts on facts.
The collectivism, co-constructing, oral traditions, music and song. And so here's the final one here with Mr. Jones.
We are not ready.
We're not ready.
I thought we was only doing 4 bars.
A minimum, at least.
Man,
At least.
man, y'all came with the hot 16. Give me that beat. All right, communication, it rules the nation, to form the conversation, to develop relations and unite the LAA population. What's up?
So anyhow, I just wanted to share a couple of those updates and highlight some of the things that we've been doing just as we are embarking on this journey together. I wanted to share, where we're going, and through this time together as we co-construct meaning together and build our capacity together as an Aspire family. I'm looking forward to continuing to labor alongside each of you, and please don't hesitate to reach out if you have some ideas or questions about culturally responsive teaching, and equity as it relates to any of those things, SEL, the content areas, multilingual learners. And Lulu, Chelsea, and I have been having a lot of conversations, and we'll continue to see how the intersections of each of those. But that was it. I hope everybody has a great day.